probably need to, we'll move this over because you're doing the presentation. Can you hear from that one, or do you need this one? All right, then we'll go. Okay.
He's the first one, landside. And then Todd will be the next two, 56 and 57.
Hey, Sean.
Morning, Mr. Carey.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Rose.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I had to kind of do this in a backwards way, so.
We have Carol there now.
So Gary is going to be from his office then? Gary's from his office, or?
I thought he was
coming.
Yeah, I thought he was coming.
Oh, Gary was starting that time.
This is gonna be their office. Dan's gonna be his office.
He's going to be from his office.
Well, it's 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, let's see what we have. Do we have a quorum of 2, 3?
You do have a quorum.
Yeah, what do you think, guys? We want to start? Is staff ready on this?
We are.
Okay. Well, we might as well just start the meeting here. Okay, we have the meeting of planning construction, June 7th, 2020. Let's have roll call.
Trustee Sperber,
Here.
Trustee Carey,
Here.
Trustee Farahi, Trustee Gianoli.
Here?
We have quorum. We also have, I can't see who else. Trustee Rose is on the line.
Yep.
Yes, I am on the line. Thank you.
All right, guys, let's go to the second item, public comments. Do we have any public?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. Let's go on to item number 3. Item number 3 is approval of the minutes of meeting of the June 9th, 2020 committee meeting. Can I have somebody make a motion?
Move to approve?
How about a second?
Second from
All
Mr.
right,
Carey.
we have a first and second. Does anybody have any comments? If not, let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right, moving right along. Now we're going on to items number 4, items to be presented for recommendations of board. Item A, I guess, Bryce, you're going to speak at this one?
Yes.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, trustees and staff. Bryce Juzik, project manager for the Engineering Construction Department for the RTAA. Here to talk to you about the Landside Preventative Maintenance Project 2020. The project includes slurry sealing, approximately 650,000 square feet of parking lot and travelways here at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. Focusing on four main areas. The surface lot, which was constructed in 2012, 2015, has a pavement condition index score of 80, which is PCI is how we grade the pavement. You can see it's in that satisfactory range there on the scale to the right. The parking plaza was constructed in 1995. We do not have a PCI index on this, but estimated to be around in the 50s range. The green lot was constructed in 2005, PCI is 79, and the yellow lot also constructed in 2005, PCI is 74. So why we're performing the pavement maintenance, doing a surface treatment extends the life cycle of a pavement. You can see in figure 1, the typical life cycle of a pavement is shown there. And on the figure 2, you see the blue line extending the life of the pavement by doing the preventive maintenance, i.e. surface treatment. As you can see, the rehabilitation is cheaper the earlier you do it in the life cycle of the pavement. You're able to extend it further out. If you wait longer to that satisfactory fair range, you can see the price increase starts to get more expensive, and doing a surface treatment is no longer economically feasible in regards to the return you get on the product. So in the figure 2, you can see it extends the life cycle of that original pavement further out. If you don't do anything, you can see that they've reconstructed the pavement once versus not having to. That's what we're looking to do here. The overall project is including, you can see the base bid was the parking plaza and southwest section of the surface lot. We had built first bid alternate of the second portion of the surface lot. Bid alternate 2 was the yellow lot, and bid alternate 3 was the green lot. Next slide. So this is a picture of the parking plaza. There's moderate cracking throughout, moderate severe cracking throughout. The pavement is really coarse there on that left-hand picture, showing the entrance. And this is the main entrance and exit for any customers parking at the RTA. The area sees approximately 1,500 cars on any given day, and is the main entrance and exits to all our customer parking lots. Here's a picture of the surface lot. You can see it's rather empty right now. The pavement condition is rather good. You can see it's a little coarse, but there isn't any severe cracking that was shown in the parking plaza. So this is, we're kind of right on schedule as far as doing a surface treatment for this lot. And here's the green lot. The green lot is one of our main employee and tenant parking lots. You can see it's rather coarse and it's getting moderate cracking throughout. Here's the yellow lot, also a employee and tenant parking lot. It also acts as our main overflow lot during peak travel times. When the surface lot and the garage fill up, this is the first lot that Landside Ops starts utilizing for excess or for overflow parking. For our bid process, we went out to bid June 11th and had a bid opening June 18th. We advertised on the RTA website, NPM, NDOT, and RGJ. We had 2 bidders, Intermountain Slurry Seal and Sierra Nevada Construction. You can see we had the base bid and then 7 bid alternates. I briefly talked about bid alternates 1 through 3. Bid alternates 4 through 7 were just, in addition to those, grinding off the surface markings, which we were looking at not awarding or awarding depending on the price that came in, kind of a value engineering decision. And based on the prices, we recommend awarding these alternates as well. So in total, Intermountain Slurry Seal was deemed the low responsible bidder at $222,222. The program budget, design services were done by RTA staff, and we do not foresee a need for construction management on this project. So the construction cost was $222,222. Other direct costs, a budget of $22,778 for estimate completion, for a total program budget of $245,000. Some project challenges: maintaining parking garage access during slurry placement. Both floors only have one entrance for the public, so we'll be looking at phasing those and potentially doing some night work. Redirecting customers around construction activities. We'll have to have traffic control and flaggers out during certain portions of the project. Others will not be as impactful. And then main issue is capturing the surface lot. That is our main long-term parking lot, and it takes us approximately 4 to 6 weeks to capture any significant portion of that lot. So project schedule, looking to go to board approval July 9th. Notice to proceed to the contractor July 20th. The first phase will be completed in 10 days. In July, then we'll have the contractor demob and look to capture the second portion of the surface lot, which will take about 4 weeks, hopefully. And then we'll have the second phase in September, another additional 10 days construction. Impact of parking revenue. With our current parking demands, we do not see any revenue loss by completing this project at this time. Had the land site staff look at the potential loss if we were weighted and had the parking demand that we had in 2019. They estimated that they would lose approximately $680,000 if we were to wait and do this project when we had our parking or our demand back up again. That's mainly due to lost capacity in capturing the lot and any need to re-rate the garage to handle lost capacity in the surface lot. Also, with COVID, they have decrease in construction costs. Engineer's estimate for this project was approximately $500,000, and then you see the actual is $222,000. Main reasoning, we have RTA maintenance staff is doing all our crack sealing and patching for us. The price of oil's dropped. Slurry seal is petroleum based. Contractors are having other projects being canceled due to COVID, and some of the quarantine restrictions limits their ability to travel out of state to complete their projects. So it is hereby moved that the board authorize the president and CEO to award a construction contract for the landside preventive maintenance project 2020 at the Reno-Tahoe International Airport with Intermountain Slurry Sealing, accepting the base bid and bid alternates 1 through 7 in the amount of $222,222, and authorize the president/CEO or her designee to sign. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Sean?
Just a comment. I really appreciate the staff's efforts to time this project to take advantage of the empty parking lots. You're also taking advantage of the great construction material. And I also wanted to compliment you on an excellent presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Other comments?
Oh, interesting how close those bids are.
Always interesting, and remember, this is the second time we've bid this thing out, so little complications could work in and are coming up with how to unravel this one. It looks great how it's turned out for us. There was also a parking lot, I don't know what we call it, the old cell lot, the one that was closed, and you're not doing that because that's too bad, quality that it wouldn't work, is that right?
Yeah, I think I think you're referring to the blue lot. That used to be the old cell phone lot.
Right,
I think
it's the one that was on site that on the right as you're coming in.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was looked at. We just decided the cracking in that lot is on average 4 to 6 inches, and so that would require a lot of patching in order to make the slurry worthwhile. And we just look at that being as, it's not as a high demand, it's very easy to capture that lot, and it's almost to the point of, it's better just to reconstruct that lot.
Right, it's an R&R, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's great. So this will get us just about everything that's in the main lot area, right?
Yes, this will pretty much cover all of our customer parking, and so that's kind of our first tier priority. And the main thing was the surface lot, seeing how it's very difficult to capture. So getting that now was our priority. Anything above and beyond that was kind of icing on the cake. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the right way to do it. As you can see, it bumps down and you're essentially spending about 1/10 the cost of a remove and replace. So it's a good way to extend out life and, it's the maintenance we need to continue doing during these times. So good job, staff. All right, with no more comments, somebody would like to make a motion here?
Mr. Chair, it's Jessica. Can I ask a question? I know I'm not on the committee. I just have a general question.
Sure, what's your question?
With the estimates, with the oil prices and everything going down, I think that slide showed 300,000 was the difference.
That was like 270,000 difference in construction costs, and then additional savings of not impacting the parking of 680. So we're almost looking at $1 million in savings by doing this project now as opposed to waiting.
Yeah, do we have, I guess just my question generally, do we have any other projects that we can identify since these bids are coming in, especially with asphalt and other types of construction projects, getting those off the ground now, especially with oil prices being down?
Trustee, a lot of that, I think, as we look at our budget, this is out of our CIP budget.
Right.
And as we work through, I believe, with Randy and see what we have available in the coming year. Our other projects are AIP, which is the runway and STED. So I think a lot will depend on how we fare as we continue with our passenger traffic, correct, Ms. Moore?
To answer your question, I don't think we have any shovel-ready paving projects that are not already in construction. The only thing I could say was we could add to the scope of this project potentially, but I think as we won't get as good a pricing because price of oil and COVID restrictions are easing a bit. We did see an increase in price when we did rebid this project, so I'm not sure how much we can benefit.
And staff will continue to watch that if funds become available. There's several ideas working with Mr. Probert that we have in mind that if we're given the ability that are on the average of doing a slurry project where you're getting a bigger bang for your buck, we're kind of looking at the air side. The problem with that is with the runway project, it kind of conflicts with that. So just balancing out where that project occurs and not affecting other projects. But we will continue to watch that.
Yeah, and I know, I guess for Art, Sean, and the rest of the committee is maybe looking at that as we're moving forward, any capital improvement projects that could possibly be ready because they provide jobs too. So, and with the, I guess the disruption right now, and I just want to compliment staff on a job well done as well.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Bryce.
Anybody, any more questions? If not, how about a motion, someone?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve as presented by staff.
This is Lisa. I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other comments? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So thank you. Great job, Bryce. All right.
Chair, I wanted the record to reflect that Mr. Farahi has also joined the meeting.
Thank you. Good morning, my friend. So we have 4 that voted on this instead of 3. Very good job. All right. Next item is another interesting one coming up is 200756. Todd, are you ready to discuss this one?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for that introduction. Todd Welty, the Environmental Program Manager for the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority. And it's my pleasure for you to allow me to present on this construction contract for the Reno Electric Ground Support Charging Stations project at this meeting. Just as a little bit of a background and introduction, air quality is an important environmental issue for transportation and aviation planning in the U.S. and around the world. The FAA and the airport industry recognize that controlling airport emissions and meeting federal, state, and local air quality requirements are essential to the sustainable growth and improvement of aviation and airport operations. Established in 2004,
Todd, I'm sorry, are you going to share out your screen or do you want me to pull up the presentation?
You can't see it?
No.
Yeah.
You have to click the share screen green button at the bottom and then select your screen. There you go.
Very nice.
Thank you, Marty.
You're welcome.
Okay, everybody can see that now?
Yep,
Yes.
All right, sorry about that.
no problem.
Established in 2004, the FAA's Voluntary Airport Low Emissions, or VALE program, provides airport improvement program grant funding to commercial service airports such as the RNO that are located in areas that are in non-attainment or maintenance of national ambient air quality standards. And Reno is actually located in maintenance for both carbon monoxide and particulate matter, or PM10. Eligible VALE projects include mobile and stationary equipment that reduce on-airport emissions, such as low-emission vehicles and other infrastructure upgrades. The proposed Reno VALE project involves decreasing the amount of ground vehicle emissions by replacing existing internal combustion engine-powered ground support equipment, GSE vehicles, such as baggage tractors, belt loaders, and pushback tugs operated by the airlines, and in replacing those with new and improved electric-powered ground support equipment, otherwise known as eGSE. In support of this initiative, the FAA VALE program will provide AIP grant funding to Reno for the installation of the necessary electric chargers to support airline-owned and operated electric-powered ground support equipment. The VALE program does require a partnership with the airline tenants and requires the participating airline to provide a corporate commitment letter to the FAA stating that they will replace existing combustion engine-powered GSE with the new electric-powered GSE. Staff has been promoting this VALE program to Reno tenants for very many years, and this VALE initiative is the first for the RTA and the RNO. In mid-May 2020, staff completed the necessary FAA VALE application submittal requirements and has qualified for Vail AIP funding for the acquisition and installation of 20 dual-port EGSE charging stations and associated electrical infrastructure here at Reno. Based on the qualifying EGSE replacements by Southwest and United Airlines, 14 EGSE dual-port chargers will be installed at Southwest Airlines gates, baggage handling, and cargo areas, and 6 EGSE dual-port chargers would be installed at United Airlines gate and baggage handling areas. It's estimated that over the 13-year useful life of the electrical charging stations, conversion to the EGSE will reduce carbon monoxide by 64 tons, ozone precursors by approximately 17.6 tons, and diesel fuel particulate matter by 1.3 tons. The number of charging stations is based on the EGSE commitments made by both Southwest and United Airlines. Southwest is committed to employing 24 pieces of EGSE consisting of 12 baggage tugs, 8 belt loaders, and 4 aircraft pushbacks. United is committed to employing 11 pieces of EGSE consisting of 5 baggage tugs, 5 belt loaders, and 1 aircraft pushback. And there on the right, you can see the typical baggage tractor, the belt loader down below, and then to the far right is the pushback for the aircraft. The general locations on your left in the blue is the Southwest locations. Working with them, they've identified that they would like 1 charger in their baggage handling area, 3 in the area of gate B1, 3 at B3, 1 at B5, and a bank of approximately 5 at around gate B7. They have one other one, which I'll show you on the next slide. For United, they propose to have 2 in their baggage handling area, 2 located at gate C5 or C3, and 2 in the area of gate C5. The other Southwest airline charger would be located at their air cargo facility to the north of the concourses. The Vail Electric Ground Support Charging Station project was publicly advertised on April 21st of 2020. A virtual non-mandatory pre-bid meeting was conducted on April 28th, 2020, and the bid opening occurred on May 12th of 2020. Advertising included publication in the Reno Gazette Journal, FAA's Matchmaker, Nevada Government e-Marketplace, otherwise known as NGEM, and posted on the RTA's website. Bids were received from 4 contractors: Helix Electric, Neutron Electrical Services, Cupertino Electric, and one other bid was submitted by Intermountain Electric, but they pulled their bid at opening due to an egregious error in their bid schedule. During the review of the remaining bids for conformance, RTA planning, engineering, and purchasing staff determined that Helix Electric was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Founded in 1985, Helix Electric is one of the largest electrical contractor companies in the nation, specializing in design, build, and highly complex electrical projects. Helix Electric of Nevada has extensive personnel and equipment resources, vast experience in airport electrical work, and in electrical work for airline operators at airports. Helix Electric of Nevada has offices in both Reno and Las Vegas. They also have offices in nearby Sacramento, California. Work associated with this project is expected to be performed by the staff based here in the Reno area, and representatives from the Helix Electric are also online to answer questions that the trustees may have. The pending construction contract and schedule is contingent upon your recommended approval today and on receiving the FAA AIP Vail grant by early September of 2020. The project has an estimated duration of approximately 140 days and may be extended depending upon procurement and winter weather. If everything goes according to schedule, the project should be completed around January of 2021. The program budget and project costs are tabulated in the following table. The Vail program budget includes a construction contract with Helix Electric of Nevada in the amount of $1,009,441. Construction management services shall be procured separately with Atkins through Amendment Number 3, Work Order 20-04 to the 2020 Construction Management Professional Services Agreement, pending approval and by a separate board action item identified on today's agenda. Other direct costs include expended reimbursable costs associated with planning, design, bidding, and application for the FAA Vail AIP grant, for a total estimated project at completion of $1,239,000. This project is 100% funded by the FAA Airport Improvement Program, Voluntary Airport Low Emissions Vail grant requested in the amount of $1,239,000. The RTAA's usual sponsor share is also funded through the CARES Act, and it should be known that the Vail AIP funds are provided from the FAA's environmental and noise set-asides and does not compete with our existing AIP grant funding. And the CARES Act monies for our portion also do not come out of our guaranteed CARES Act funding that we have received. So in conclusion, it's hereby moved that the board authorize the President CEO to accept a pending FAA Vail Voluntary Airport Low Emissions Airport Improvement Program grant offer and to execute a construction contract for the Helix for the electric ground support charging station project at Reno-Tahoe International Airport with Helix Electric of Nevada, LLC, accepting the base bid and bid alternates 1, 2, and 3 in the amount of $1,009,441. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks a lot, Todd. Thanks for that. Questions, comments, guys?
Mr. Chair, just a couple of questions from Trustee Carey. I wanted to inquire as to what is the replacement life of these particular devices, and will we be expected to maintain these in perpetuity? And will this be maintained by our maintenance staff?
Yes, the expected life of the charging units is at 13 years for the program. Now, they could last longer than that, and we will be required to maintain those charging stations. The airlines are responsible for the EGSE equipment themselves, and we have no involvement in the maintenance of those items. We will have user agreements associated with the charging stations, as we will have to charge them for the electricity that they utilize from those charging stations. And each one of those charging stations has a monitoring system on it to track the amount of usage that we will basically back bill them for.
And is there any need to have a spare one of these for any accidents or loss of equipment service?
In our user agreement, the airlines will be responsible for any damage to the unit or breaking of the cables and things like that. We have not programmed in this particular project any replacement.
And finally, just as a comment, I think this is a great project to be doing. We got to get the tons of pollutions out of the air, and this is just another step. And I congratulate you, Todd, for your work bringing this forward.
Well, thank you. And I will add that, this really is made possible with the Volkswagen settlement funds also, because the airlines are taking advantage of that funding source to actually purchase the equipment themselves. We did have Delta was interested initially in participating, and then they backed out right before the pre-application process. American Airlines approached us again after the pre-application and during the final, but it was already too late for them to get back into it. as they did not have any initial interest when we talked to them 2 years ago.
Just a quick question on that. Will there be another opportunity to add some of those airlines that may be interested, or is this a one and done kind of thing?
No, there'll be further opportunities. If we build a new concourse or later in the next programming years to come, we could look at reapplying again. This is a little bit different than our typical AIP projects. It takes approximately 2 years to go through this application process with the FAA. There's a pre-application which you have to submit and get approval, and then you have to go into the final application where you bid out the project and get the commitments from the airlines. So it was a very extensive project, but we do look forward to hopefully doing others in the future.
Good work. Thank you.
Other questions? Well, again, I'd like to say, it's environmentally right to do this project. We're really very low cost. All we had was money to go in the early upfront, which we will actually recoup when this thing's approved. So it's great on there. Want to thank both United and Southwest for actually participating in this, which allows it to occur. And I think it just looks very good for our airport, and in fact, when we do, if we can approve this on Thursday, I think this should be pushed out to the public that we're doing this project. I think it's a good thing to show the public on a PR. I don't know if we can kind of get that going. Marilee, can we do that, get that out to the public after Thursday?
Yeah, absolutely. I just made a note to myself that we'll make sure that Mr. Colton gets something out after the board approves this, both social media and a news release, because I think you're right. This being our first Vail project, it's pretty significant for this airport.
Chair Sperber,
Sure.
This is Lissa Butterfield. Could I speak for a second?
Well, of course you can.
Thank you. So, Lissa Butterfield, Manager of Planning and Environmental. To the point you just made, we also worked cooperatively with Washoe County Air Quality. They obviously have a very vested interest in the success of this project, and they reached out to us just recently just to make sure that we knew that they were going to highlight this project with their Board of Health, and they were also going to tout it on their social media as well if we are able to secure funding. Thank you.
That's great, and great job, Ms. Butterfield, of taking this on. These are those projects that, unless you really look through grants, you don't know some things that are going on that we can do, and these are great things to do, especially, I know you continually are doing this, but during these times, it's a great thing for the whole community to do these type of projects. So great job. All right, with that, anybody would like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Seconded, Daniel.
Daniel, thank you. First and second, any more comments or questions? Okay, with that, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. So that's passed. Great job again, Todd. Now the next item that we're going to have Todd gets on, which is the item on the CM for this, as we talked about. So I don't think anybody will want too much of a discussion here, but Todd, can you tell us what the next item is here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Todd Welty, Environmental Program Manager for the Reno-Tahoe Airport Authority, and I'm happy to present on the CM services for this Vail program project. Can you all see my screen with amendment number 3 there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just as restating the purpose of this action is to request authorization for the President CEO to execute amendment number 3 for the RNO electric ground support charging stations to the professional services agreement for the 2020 annual construction management CM services for the Airport Capital Improvement Plan at Reno-Tahoe International Airport with Atkins North America, Inc. in the amount of $114,000 $200 for a total of $1,651,465. As the trustees are aware, Atkins was selected through an RFQ process to provide construction management services to the RTAA through calendar year 2020. CM services are required by the FAA on all AIP grant projects. CM services ensure that the industry standards are met and affords project inspections, material testing, quality assurance, contract administration, and regulatory compliance. CM services include the necessary technical services, certifications, and laboratory equipment if necessary. It also provides for the personnel and equipment to accommodate any seasonal work and project requirements. CM fees were negotiated with Atkins based on the VAIL project contract requirements, including the project tasks and other services refined by staff. CM services include quarterly CM reports and presentations, including project administration, administrative services, and then any other miscellaneous requests by staff. As the trustees are aware, Atkins CM contract services allow for additional projects to be added to work orders and amendments to their professional services agreement through the term of their contract. As shown here, the PSA and the other two amendments have already been reviewed and approved by the board. Highlighted is on the bottom is amendment number 3, work order task 20-04 will provide for the CM services for the RNO electric ground support charging station project previously presented on. When added to the previous and current work orders, amendment number 3 in the amount of $114,200 for the VAIL project brings the Atkins total CM contract amount to $1,651,465. As I previously shown, the locations of the proposed electric GSE charging stations, they're both Southwest and United. And as previously discussed, the project involves the installation of the 20 electric vehicles charging stations, 14 of which would be installed and used by Southwest, and 6 would be installed and used by United. As also previously discussed, the project has a duration of approximately 140 calendar days, which we're hoping to be completed by January 2021. Again, as previously discussed, the VAIL program budget consists of Helix Electric construction contract in the amount of $1,009,441, Atkins CM services in the amount of $114,200, other direct costs in the amount of $115,359 for a total program budget of $1,239,000. Again, the VAIL project, including the CM services, is 100% funding by the pending FAA VAIL program grant. In conclusion, it's hereby moved that the board authorize the President CEO to execute amendment number 3, RNO electric ground support charging stations, to the professional services agreement for the 2020 annual construction management CM services for the airport capital improvement plan at Reno-Tahoe International Airport with Atkins North America, Inc. in the amount of $114,200 for a total of $1,651,465. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. Questions, comments, guys? All right. Without that, would somebody like to make a motion on this one?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve as recommended in the staff report.
How about a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any more comments? Without any comments, let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Great job. Next item we're going to is item number 5, items to be presented for approval. There are none. Let's go to item number 6N, are items for the committee for discussion. First item is the North Valley Flood Mitigation Utility Corridor Plan. And Ms. Butterfield, welcome back.
Good morning, trustees, staff. Alyssa Butterfield, Manager of Planning and Environmental Services. I wanted to start this update with just a quick news story that aired on June 17th regarding the Swan Lake irrigation effort. It's pretty informative. Martin Mueller is going to be playing it from the conference room. Hopefully you can see it.
It's been 3 years since the flooding of Swan Lake and Lemon Valley. Now, since then, there's been much discussion about what to do with the excess water. KOLO 8 News Now's Trey Russell says a drive along Red Rock Road north of town will show one temporary solution.
For several years, this has been the story of Swan Lake. A wet winter back in 2017 combined with effluent and floodwaters filled what is typically a dry lake bed. Homes were damaged and walls were built, and still the questions about what to do with the water remain. Last year, with the approval of the City of Reno and the Airport Authority, a pipeline was built along with the pump. And now water travels 5 miles to this open area called American Flat, owned by the county.
About 160 million gallons we've pumped since April 1st, which has lowered the lake by about 0.3 of a foot.
Reno taxpayers laid out the initial $2.7 million to pay for the pipe and pump. They continue to pay the monthly power bill. However, the preparation of land, equipment to irrigate, and planting of hay was later paid for by the farmer who won the bid to maintain the 250 acres. Heller says the farmer receives 2,000 gallons of water every minute at no charge. He says the lake has gone down 2.5 feet every summer. This method contributes about 4 inches to the effort, which began around April 1st. Initially, this 250 acres will grow grain hay, but with that 7-year contract, they hope to turn it over to alfalfa. Reporting north of Reno, Terry Russell, KOLO 8 News Now.
Thank you, Marty. I don't think there's anything I can do to update that covers more than what was in that video. I thought that was a great news story, and we'll continue to support the effort. And as part of the North Valley's utility corridor effort, hopefully we'll be able to help turn that temporary solution into a more permanent solution if we're able to get the east-west corridor alignment in play. So that being said, after our last committee meeting on June 9th, the City of Reno has not held any further North Valley's utility corridor meetings. However, the Airport Authority has continued to have discussions with the FAA regarding the possibility of taking that east-west utility corridor alignment and seeing whether or not it meets their criteria for a Section 163 exemption, which could, if granted, allow for a public use utility corridor to proceed east-west across Stead Airport without a lengthy environmental review process. I believe the proposed alignment has been shared with the trustees in the past, but I thought really quickly I would share what we are showing the FAA on my screen. Hold on. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the alignment, the east-west corridor alignment. You'll see that it starts here on Lemon, which aligns it with the temporary effluent path through the airport, and then it follows this blue line, and it would end up somewhere where Lemon Drive exits our property. If we can keep it within that orange marked area, we believe we can qualify for that 163 exemption. And right now we are going back and forth with the FAA, providing them the documentation and information they need so that they can make a determination, hopefully in a timely fashion. Sharing.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Additionally, our Vice President of Airport Economic Development, Tina Iftiger, has been working with the Porter Group to seek federal funding for regional utility and roadway corridor. The segments of the corridor that are within the Stead Airport property would be included in that federal funding ask. She has been coordinating very extensively with a number of public agencies as well as developers to secure support for that. The corridor itself would go off our property as well and would include areas primarily within the city of Reno. That concludes my update on the North Valley's utility information, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions, comments, guys? Hearing none. Well, it's great, thank you. Let's go on to the second item. We obviously have a major runway, and Tony, are you here today to give us a little update?
I am here today. Thank you, Chair and trustees. Welcome. Good morning. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Great to be before you today. Tony Curatolo, Senior Project Manager for the Airport Authority, to give an update on the runway projects out there. The phase 1 work on runway 16 left is drawing to a close. We just recently opened the runway incursion mitigation zone near taxiway Charlie and Lima on July 2nd. So that is all reconfigured and open to the public, and clearing up any issues over there for the general aviation traffic to better get to and from the runway. The only point remaining on that initial phase 1 project is the airfield lighting vault, which we have basically suspended because it involved a tie-over to runway 16 left, which is our primary current runway right now. So we mutually agreed with Granite to have them come back and do that work after we're no longer using that as our primary runway. So we have just suspended work on that, and they'll be back in September after that reopening. That leads us to the phase 2 work on 16 right, which is ongoing right now. Again, runway 16 right has been closed since June 1st, and happy to report no major incidents, any issues with flights or loss of passengers or cargo due to that closure using the shorter runway. The work that we are proceeding with is the runway incursion mitigation for that portion of work, and that's nearly complete. That's at the south end of the airfield, and that is taxiway Alpha. That's rounding out that corner and reconfiguring that geometry there. The concrete has all been placed for all those pours, and we have asphalt shoulders and edge lights going in within the next week or two. So that will be wrapping up. The other portions of work this year in the phase 2 work will be the blast pads. So they're currently working on both ends, north and south of runway 16 right, 34 left. On the blast pads and the Mauser, the FAA guidance lighting in those blast pads. So we are working to complete that work ahead of the September 10th MAGVAR, the magnetic variation, changing of the numbers and reopening of the runway as 17 right, 35 left. So all things are moving along well on that front, and the bulk of the work, the keel section, the main concrete center 50-foot wide full length keel section, centerline lights, the asphalt shoulders and edge lights for the runway are all on schedule for next year. One thing we are doing is to the board's comment regarding gaining more projects and more dollars. We are currently in conversations with the FAA Airport District Office about obtaining more funds, because we did have 4 alternates that we did not award, as you may recall, as part of that initial contract with Granite. We are looking to obtain any or all of those as possibly getting more work now, especially with the lesser traffic and the better bids that we're getting for construction, and obviously just for jobs in the area, and to not have to close the runway in another 5 years time when those pavements are in need of replacement. So we are in contact with the FAA on that, and we will keep the board apprised as how those developments go. We are looking to kind of have an answer by the end of August next month to see if there may be some funds either through stimulus funding for similar CARES funding, or just other airports that couldn't get off the ball for for applying for grant funds. So if there are funds available, we do look forward to possibly adding to that contract. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, that's great. I know you guys always do a great job collecting the money that other people don't use, and we always appreciate that. I've seen that in the past, and I know you're watching as we discuss thoroughly. I know Sean brought up a few meetings ago about these other alternates. That would be nice to do them during the thing. So I'm glad that you're staying right on top of that, Tony. Questions, comments, guys? That sounds good. Mixed designs, I know are always a big thing, but I know we had some things from the last. Are all those approved? So submittals are in and set for this project now, Tony?
That's correct, Chair. All the submittals for this year's work are in. For next year's work, there's obviously even more concrete, and
Sure.
we do need a revised, updated mixed design for that. But we will make sure and have that in the queue well before a March startup. So we'll certainly address any concerns that there may be with that and get it dialed in.
Yeah, that's great, because I know some of the things that they don't like using our aggregates in this area with their water cement ratios and things. And I know that takes a while to get approval from FAA.
Yes.
And so, all right. Out that, Tony, thank you very much. Keep it going, my friend. All right, next item is our capital improvement schedule. Gary, are you on to give us a little rundown, the updates?
Chris Cobb, Manager of Engineering Construction, actually, I'll get to enjoy this little portion of it.
Gary kind of turned that over to you now, huh?
I think he's finally trusting me where I can get in there. I appreciate that he's giving me time to learn everything here at the airport and ease me into this. So I think I'm knowledgeable enough now that I can be dangerous and give you the right information.
Sounds great, my friend. Go ahead.
With that, if you note on your schedule, the first item, phase 1 of the runway there, 16 right, 34 left on that phase 1. That's highlighted because we did extend out the schedule with holding off on the airfield lighting vault until that gets completed in October.
Right.
Right below that, the apron project and taxiway at Stead. The biggest change there was that with Reno Air Races canceling, we no longer intend to have a two-phase project. We'll look to just build it all at once. Mr. Juzik will be working with road and highway builders as we get the grant from FAA, which we expect to be this month sometime, probably the latter part of the month, and figure out that schedule and really hammer it down, with all intents to be done and out of there by November. After that, in TSA operations, you'll notice highlighted, just finishing out, we had a couple more lots to finish that up through closeout, and that'll be completely done. Below that, the landside maintenance program, the biggest change there was we had intended last month to be before you for approval, and obviously ran into issues. So the board approval on there was moved up to July. And then as Mr. Juzik said, we look to get started here at the end of July, take a break once that portion's done, and then get back in as soon as we get the other cars and portions open on the surface lot so that we can finish it. And then lastly, on the terminal elevator modernization, we did have some issues with some wall panels. Ms. Twitchell's doing excellent in keeping the contractor on point to get those replaced as part of the closeout and punch list. So those are your items that really changed from the last month. If there's anything on here, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions on any of the others.
Any comments, guys?
I just wanted to thank Alyssa for her great work on the ticket hall expansion project. I've learned a lot about ticket counters in that process, and I think she's doing a great job leading that.
Don't worry, she's going to speak here in a few minutes.
Sorry.
All right, with no more, let's go on to the next item. Next item is the Conrack project. Tina?
Well, good morning, trustees. For the record, Tina Estiger, Vice President of Airport Economic Development. Marty's pulling up a presentation we have. And obviously, as always, my co-presenter will be Mr. Probert. I saw you had it. You mushed it there. I don't know what that was.
That one right there. There it is.
Can you see it?
It's there.
The remote is not working.
Okay. All right, so let's get into the meat here. As you know, we've had a lot of internal meetings working on elements of the agreement to help make sure we have planning, engineering, environmental, and construction processes and standards and specifications in the agreement so that we have a document to ensure we have what we need through this tenant improvement project. We did receive a draft from PMG, Paul Blue's group. It's about 12 pages long, and it goes from code enforcement and FAA compliance to landscaping and architecture, tenant improvement processes, and construction. We will be reviewing that internally. We just received it. And then concurrently, council is drafting the ground lease that will be the form of document that this will go into. And I will talk about the CFC balance, but as of this date of June 30th, the only invoices and costs incurred against CFCs is for council to draft the lease. We continue to have Conrack support. The rental cars are still engaged and very much in support, and I believe we may have one of the rental car companies on the line, and I believe Conrack Solutions is on the line as well if you have questions regarding that. As I mentioned, we will do an internal review to make sure that this scope on the standards and procedures are complete and accurate. And then we will hand that final document over to legal counsel for incorporation into the lease. And as mentioned last time, we will do a demand assessment in fourth quarter 2020 to make sure the scale of the project is still accurate. Regarding the CFCs, as you'll see, we have, as we near the end of June, we have a final forecast for the last month. We've only expended for the Conrack study the legal fees for phase 2 as of June 30th of $63,780, and so we expect the balance of CFCs to be over $11 million as of June 30th. You'll see below the approved amount remaining, the $9.6 million, plus the operating expenses, which are for the existing facilities that have already been approved, an estimated forecast. And so should we continue down phase 2 and move forward, we expect at the end of the phase 2, we would still have a $4.3 million balance to proceed forward into phase 3 should the board choose to do so. Do you have any questions on either of those two elements before I hand this over to Gary for the engineering and environmental pieces?
Questions, guys?
Okay.
Go ahead, Gary.
All right. Thank you, Tina. Good morning, trustees. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. Gary Probert, Vice President of Planning, Engineering, and Environmental Management. as Tina mentioned, I'll be presenting from the planning and engineering side. So on our design update here, our current status, Austin Commercial, who's the construction group for Conrac Solutions, they have advertised on the RTA's website through Reno Gazette Journal and Nevada Government e-marketplace for local contractors for teamings. So there's SOQ's statement of qualifications are due July 17th. And after that, they'll start creating their local contractor teams. PGAL is the architect for Conrac Solutions. They're still working on assembling their local consulting team. They should have most of them selected by the end of the month here. We have been meeting both internally with our stakeholders as well as Conrac Solutions on a regular basis to further define the site considerations, excuse me, and the enabling projects. As of to date, our enabling projects and site considerations are up to 56. So these projects are all separated into priorities, and we keep looking at the priorities, see if we need to raise them, lower them, combine projects, or possibly separate them. Next steps, we'll continue to discuss and evaluate the site consideration enabling projects. This will continue throughout the entire project. As an example, the priority threes, they may occur at the end of the project. So these will be throughout the whole project. PGAL continues to assemble their consultants for the enabling projects and for the site work projects. We will coordinate this project once the concourse and the loop road projects start to begin. So we'll make sure that there's coordination there, planning and engineering. We continue to meet internally to discuss resources that we may need for the next phase, which would be construction. Next slide, thank you. NEPA update. So our working group has been established, and we're having reoccurring meetings on a regular basis. We continue to discuss the best processes. The purpose and need is still being finalized as we are still finalizing the scope of the projects with all these enabling projects. So as these enabling projects come up, it might change the purpose and need or scheduling that occurs. The one thing we have heard from the FAA is that they're reluctant to run a parallel NEPA and the Section 163 exemption process at the same time. They would like us to run the Section 163 process first. Once approved, some of the projects may fall out and then go through the NEPA. The 163, that's work that's exempt from the FAA's environmental review process. PGAL, they have drafted an exhibit. Marty, can you go to the next slide? That shows changes to the ALP. All of the blue items that are shown, those are existing facilities, and those items are going to either require relocation or just to be demolished. The red items on there, those are the new facilities. So this is one of the first things that'll have to go to the FAA for their review. As far as next steps, we're just continuing to strategize on the process, define all of our enabling projects, and determine proper sequencing and timing for our submittal to the FAA. Next, Phase 2 schedule. The schedule shows the milestones at which the board will be updated. So the board will get to see the design progress. We'll see document progress, NEPA updates, schedule updates, invoice updates, and these schedules are all based on standard milestones, which in our case is that 100% schematics phase, 30, 60% design, and then at the phase 2 deliverables. Phase 2 deliverables, at that point, that'll be for a possible board vote to move to construction. That completes my presentation. If there's any questions.
Sure.
Thanks, Gary. Sean?
Could you go back to your drawing, Gary? Your conceptual.
On the loop road?
Yeah. Could you, if it's possible from this, are they using now 2 of those helix ramps outside of their primary structure? Is that the change that they made there?
That's what they have right now. There is some discussion about the helixes, you know, where they're located for one, and if that's the right type of structure as well. The last time we talked, I did mention about using ramps, but I don't know how their process works, and they'll be looking into it.
So if we get to 100% schematic design, at what point will they be willing to make a change if those ramps aren't in the best interests of the traveling public?
Conrad Solutions, are you on the call?
Yeah, this is Bob O'Neill. I'm happy to take that question. So this is Bob O'Neill again from Conrac Solutions. So Trustee Carey, we're looking at whether it is feasible to use ramps instead of helices. So it'll be as much a technical discussion as it is I guess, customer service discussion. But as soon as we have that analysis, we'll be happy to share it. But it is a challenge with the vertical height of that structure utilizing just ramps. So we are looking at it, but that's where we're headed. And to address your question directly, I think we're open to either solution if we can get the ramps to technically work, but we just don't know yet.
I appreciate your update. Continue your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Other questions, comments, guys? All right. Thank you. Let's go on to the next one. Now we're on to ticketing. Ms. Butterfield, do you have a little presentation for us on what you've been doing on that project?
I do indeed.
I knew you would.
I'm hoping everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, trustees and staff. Once again, Lissa Butterfield, Manager of Planning and Environmental Services for the record. I'll be providing an update on the Ticketing Hall Improvement Study, which is fully funded under Passenger Facility Charge Application Number 14. As a reminder, this consultant effort has been led by Max Hirschenau with H&K Architects. He's been primarily supported by HOK, a national aviation and airport planning firm out of San Francisco. The study schedule is shown here. It was just updated this week. It's about as accurate as I've seen it. It shows all the milestones that have been completed to date. We are on the yellow bar right now. We are on the preparation of the draft basis of design report. The last milestone that was completed was the selection of the preferred alternate and the decision as to which one is going to advance for further refinement and exploration in the basis of design report. After that draft report is created, we'll be sharing the draft with the stakeholders, and then based on comments and input, we'll be finalizing that, and our target completion is the very beginning of September. As a refresher, this slide here shows our existing floor plan for the ticketing hall. The airline queuing areas are this portion of the building that's shown in blue. The gray area here that runs parallel to that is the existing circulation hallway that also acts as our overflow queuing area. The orange spaces here, the front of the building, are currently leased tenant spaces for ABM, SAS, TSA PreCheck. And the purple areas at the two ends of the building are a mechanical room and the fire riser room. This area here is the curbside, with these points here being the posts where the existing canopy is. So the goals of the study have evolved through time, through the study, based on the ongoing stakeholder input. As of our last meeting, I would say that the goals were really to address the following: to improve the level of service that's being offered to our passengers by providing closer restroom facilities for departing passengers. Right now, the nearest ones are located in baggage claim, and they're not along the path between ticketing and security. To also provide a better circulation hallway that's less impacted by the overflow queues, and also allows for improved wayfinding. Right now, our circulation hallway is 12.5 feet wide at the widest point, but it is regularly constrained by overflow queues and limited line of sight issues. If we had a truly dedicated circulation hallway, our consultant believes that 12 feet would be adequate if there was no overflow queuing happening in those areas. That essentially allows 6 feet of movement in either direction. But if we're going to have an overflow situation, then we probably wanted to reach at least 15 feet. We also wanted to expand the airline queuing areas. Currently, there's about 5,200 square feet of overall queue space. And if we can't expand it, at least to identify locations where we could relocate their self-check kiosks that are taking up some of that queuing area. We also wanted to maintain the same level of seating we currently have. Right now we have 44 seats in the ticketing hall. We also wanted to, if possible, provide additional leasable tenant space, including potentially a vending area. Right now we have 546 square feet dedicated in the ticketing hall for our existing tenants. There's 292 square feet if we take out TSA PreCheck, which has indicated that they are potentially going to be relocating into a nearby Staples store. TSA PreCheck has developed a partnership with Staples store throughout the nation, and they are putting their facilities inside Staples. So one of the goals is to provide some additional square footage, potentially relocate the ABM break room, which is in the back of the house right now, to the front, and to provide some areas for vending machines. In addition, we wanted to provide some additional space for facilities to use. Right now they have 174 square feet, but there is a need for a custodial closet if we incorporate restrooms, and there's also a need for a secure emergency response room. And then lastly, we did want to improve wayfinding throughout the entire ticketing hall. We wanted to resolve some of the limited line of sight issues and the low beams and the fact that our signage is not ADA compliant currently. So over the course of the study, the consultant team developed a number of alternates, and based on input from stakeholders, these alternates have either been eliminated or further developed for additional discussion. On June 25th, the Airport Authority Stakeholder Group met and discussed the final 3 alternates. The stakeholder participants included representatives from a number of our departments: air service, airport economic development, building maintenance, customer service, engineering, facilities, finance and accounting, operations and public safety, planning, PR and marketing, IT, as well as our senior leadership. We also had 2 trustees who participated in that June 25th workshop, so thank you, Trustee Sperber and Trustee Carey, for taking the time out of your day to help in that discussion. The next few slides are going to recap the final 3 alternates. So this slide right here is showing alternate 1, which was based on the previous alternate concept for phase 1. And it demonstrates a partial expansion of the ticketing hall with an inner circulation hallway. In this alternate, we bump out small portions of the building, and we do minimal structural changes to the existing building. This alternate provides centralized restrooms that are in this bump out portion here in green. We're able to widen the primary circulation hallway here by about 1 foot. We're also able to accommodate additional space requests from facilities, the custodial closet, as well as the emergency space. We're also able to provide same size spaces for all of our existing tenants and an additional unallocated 600 square feet of space that could be used to either relocate the ABM break room, which is about 177 square feet now, or to house additional tenants that might be interested in locating in the ticketing hall. We also have some flex space that could be used to accommodate common use kiosks, and those are these areas right here. So this area could be seating, or it could be an area for either common use kiosks or for the airlines to take their existing kiosks and push them if they are in proximity to their ticketing area. This option is the most budget-friendly option, but to keep costs low, the existing narrow vestibules and the current design features, which create the low ceiling, end up having to remain in place. The consultant team provided some 3D renderings to kind of show what the new visual would look like in alternate 1. The color images here are what exists right now. The images shown in black and white adjacent are essentially the same view if the alternate is built out. So as you can see, really the big change is this new bump out portion here, and the wider hallway here. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but we carve out part of the wing wall in order to create that additional foot. So the additional foot here is created by carving out the wing wall that's over here. It is not gotten by narrowing the pillars in this area here. So we can get 1 foot by coming into this side of the building. I will cut to the chase here and not spend too much time on this alternate. While we had a lot of discussion at the stakeholder workshop, alternate 1 was pretty quickly eliminated, primarily due to the fact that it provided minimal improvements related to the overall goals of the project. It was a nice budget-conscious effort, but truly it didn't really achieve enough goals to be worthwhile to consider further. Alternate 2 is based on previous alternate concept 3-4, and it demonstrates a full expansion of the ticketing hall with a new outer circulation hallway. So a reminder, the outer circulation is in gray right here. So it shifts the circulation area from against the queue into the new expansion of the building. So in this option, we expand the building to the end of the existing roof line, with the exception of this northern portion here, which does come out past the roof line. Structural braces are adjusted by United Airlines, the north end of the ticketing hall. This concept dramatically changes the passenger experience by moving the circulation hallway and the seating along this new frontage. This allows airline ticket functions to expand into the area that's currently used by a hallway. It provides north end restrooms for passengers that are on their way to security. It increases this blue area here, the overall airline queuing by 36% overall. It also creates in the front of the building a new dedicated 15-foot circulation hallway. It repurposes the existing hallway, which is this area in here is in white, that can serve as flex space that could either act as a secondary circulation path, or it could act as queuing for kiosks or overflow queuing for the airlines. This alternate, just like alternate 1, accommodates all the additional space requests from facilities. It provides same size spaces for our existing tenants, but only an additional 128 feet that could be used for an additional tenant. It also provides flex space in these areas here for either common use or relocated kiosks. In addition, if kiosks are identified as not a critical need, this could also turn into some additional seating areas. This option provides much higher ceilings, longer and better line of sight, and has the potential to bring a lot more daylight into the ticketing hall. That's something that can be seen much better in the 3D renderings for this option. So as you can see in the 3D renderings, while the curbside view is a lot less exciting, you see pretty much a straight bump out here until you hit the north end. You'll see glass wherever possible, but it's really the inside that has the dramatic difference. By removing these floating clouds here and relocating the lighting and some of the above utilities, we believe we can create a new ceiling shown here that is an estimated 16 feet above the ground. That will greatly open up the line of sight throughout the whole ticketing hall. So it would be 16-foot ceilings in all of these places. We would also remove the wing walls. The bracing has to stay, and we would need to build ADA compliant walls here to prevent people from walking under the braces and hitting their heads. But by removing the walls and enclose the braces, we believe we can greatly open up the space. So I'm going to walk through this really quickly here. This area here is the new airline queuing area. They can now expand well past these center poles here. This right here, if you can see my cursor, is the secondary area. This is where the secondary hallway. This is the area that the common use kiosks would go. This is the area here that is the new dedicated circulation hallway. And moving on to our final alternate, this is the one that was based on previous concept 2, and it demonstrates a full expansion of the ticketing hall with an inner circulation hallway. In this alternate, we expand the entire building to the existing roof line, and tenant and restroom spaces are all incorporated into the new space. So everything that's built is either a tenant space, a facility space, new seating, or new vestibules. In order to shift the circulation hallway into the area that currently houses the vestibule, seating, and tenants, this is why we have to make those major structural brace changes in order to open up that area. This option provides centralized restrooms, just like the first option. It increases the airline queuing by 60% overall, so it does make the most significant change to airline queuing. It does, however, only increase the circulation hallway by a ½ foot, and then it accommodates the space requirements from facilities. It also accommodates all of our existing front of the house tenants, and it provides an additional 1,720 square feet that could be used for additional tenants. So this is the option that provides the most tenant space. It also provides the same high ceilings and longer and better line of sight than option 2, but it doesn't provide the openness created by having all that new daylight coming into the front of the building. Here are the 3D views. As you can see, the ticketing area here opens up in a similar fashion to the second alternate, but the circulation area and the tenant spaces, while the circulation area is bigger, the tenants and the vestibules take up this wall here, and essentially creates an option that is very similar to what we have now, only bigger. So moving on to this slide here, I wanted to show how the alternates kind of compare to each other based on the targets and goals. As I mentioned earlier, alternate 1 here was eliminated pretty quickly, and our discussion really focused on the merits at this meeting of alternate 2 versus alternate 3. You can see the comparison. Alternate 3 provides significantly more queuing, while alternate 2 provides a wider circulation area. Alternate 3 provides more tenant space. There's similar improvements in terms of wayfinding in alternates 2 and 3, although alternate 2 does provide light and volume that we can't capture in alternate 3. The second alternate provides more of a change to the passenger experience and also provides more opportunity for kiosk relocation areas. The construction cost difference between the 2 is very similar. The delta is just about $1 million between the 2. And these are construction costs only. These are only the hard costs. No soft costs are included in these estimates at this point. So the majority of stakeholders at the workshop, including our most critical stakeholders in terms of who really is going to be using that building after it's constructed, supported alternate 2. So the stakeholders that really strongly supported alternate 2 were economic development, building maintenance, our airline customer service group, engineering, facilities, and PR and marketing. The primary reasons for their preference was that new outer circulation hallway provides the greatest opportunity to really positively and dramatically change the entire passenger experience in the ticketing hall, not only by bringing in more light and volume, but also by creating a circulation hallway that won't become congested with overflow queuing. It also provides 36% more overall airline queues, which the airlines did support. It creates the widest circulation hallway, and it's the only alternate that creates this additional secondary circulation path that could also be used flexibly in the future if we identify other needs for it. The project team documented, however, a number of issues raised regarding alternate 2, and that is one of the primary purposes of this basis of design report. It's to not only program what we want to design, but try to capture areas of concern that would then be better dealt with once we do move a project like this into design. So the issues that were raised were that alternate 2 does provide the least additional square footage for tenant space. So our consultants were asked to examine if it's possible to add more space without detrimentally impacting the light volume and wider circulation benefits that we're getting in alternate 2. Additionally, a number of participants requested that the restroom location be looked at one more time. It should be noted that pretty much from the beginning, the restroom location has become the most contested topic pretty much in every meeting that we have. The dilemma is really a matter of preference. A northern location in our ticketing hall is very close to our existing baggage claim restrooms. But a northern location would also successfully capture all of the ticketing hall passengers as they walk towards security. So from a flow standpoint, that's ideal. A southern location closer to Southwest Airlines could provide a larger number of passengers, since Southwest Airlines handles most of our passengers, with close facilities and potentially an ideal location if it wasn't in the opposite direction of the security checkpoint for the rest of the passengers. And then a middle location, it might have some very positive benefits, and as you saw, 2 of the 3 alternates had restrooms in the middle. The challenge there is in alternate 2, restrooms in that location create a significant blockage to the light and volume improvements that the stakeholders liked most about alternate 3. That's not me, I don't think. And then finally, the consulting team was also asked to look to see if there's an opportunity to remove additional braces for new tenant spaces. So as a result of the discussion, alternate 2, as shown here with that primary outside circulation, was selected as the preferred alternate with the expectation that those issues would be further looked at as part of the basis of design report. Any unresolved issues, anything that we can't find a solution for will be documented in the basis of design report and then can be addressed during the design of the improvements. As a reminder, this is what the new 3D renderings could potentially look like. They are pretty stark, but it's our hope that when we get to a point where we're ready to design this project, the designers selected will really help put their stamp on what the visual appearance of this area could look like. As I mentioned, next steps are going to be development of the basis of design report that is expected in early August, followed by finalization in September. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, my friend. Questions, guys? Comments?
Thank you for all the hard work. I wasn't in all the meetings, but was in some of them, and it certainly took a lot of effort from the whole team, so to the whole staff and Melissa, a lot of thanks.
That was great presentation. A lot of work.
Yeah.
I know I brought it up in some of those prior meetings, and probably one of the louder voices about not understanding why we should expend the dollars for those bathrooms to be 50 feet away from other bathrooms we have there. I understand the considerations regarding flow, but to me we create another flow issue, if you will, just looking at the flow of passengers and the way that circulation goes, then having to bump out around the bathrooms creates a bit of a pinch point there. And I just wonder if really it's necessary at this time, or we leave that space as open space, and should the need arise in the future, we have that space and we can develop it into bathrooms.
So this is Lissa. Yeah, we can certainly shell that space in to be used. how we want in the future. There's also the potential at design for us to revisit this and maybe convert that space into that additional tenant space. So while we want to program this for our restrooms just for the budgetary impacts and the greater understanding of what it would cost, there is the potential at design that the decision could be made to make maybe a more cost-efficient decision and not put restrooms in there, but turn that into a leasable tenant space.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I would guess I would caution doing anything with the space there, certainly in the way that it's currently shown, because to me that line that we're showing, this pathway that we're showing, then bumping out right before opening up into the main thoroughfare, if you will, towards security, it becomes very narrow at those two bends. And I just don't know if that's necessary, or rather we want to keep a wider mouth there at the end, if you will. I mean, I know that the wall bumps out there and probably maybe we need to walk it together, but I just wonder if better to keep that space even more open rather than put tenants there, unless we have a tenant we absolutely want to need to put there. So I guess that'll all be part of the future design discussions. I just, again, want to caution against making that corridor or awkward at that point.
Thank you.
Other comments? Anything else on it?
Yeah, just one more, Liz. I think
Sure,
it was
go ahead. Sorry, Damon.
Louis Vidal, when we were going through the concourse planning, that showed some of his ideas in here, and love that they've been, whether they were from him or from others, incorporating the higher ceilings and the additional light, and it's very exciting to see. I think the one thing that I remember him recommending we consider is the columns and the current finish that we have around them. I think he suggested that those columns, from what he understood, are much, the actual structural columns are much narrower, smaller than what we have currently built out for the finishes, and maybe look at refinishing those columns to give us some additional space in the walkway specifically.
That's something we can certainly incorporate.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? As you can see, this project, it's probably frustrating to all of us because we're so constricted on all sides to get this in without just totally ripping the whole place out. We've got driving on the outside. We've got inside things there. You know, you spend about 10 or 12 million, you're still not getting what you would love to get. And it's some of the frustration, and I think staff has done a great job trying to make it work as well as we can. And the bottom line is, are we going to want this or not? And some of those things. So some of this frustration isn't that these items weren't considered. They're just hard to put them all into the thing.
And
so,
Lisa, did we do a, and I appreciate that point, Trustee Sperber.
Yes.
Did we do an analysis of what this gets us in terms of annual or monthly passenger count? What this allows us to more comfortably handle? Does this, and what kind of timeline and runway that gives us?
No, we did not complete something to say how it helps us in terms of the airline schedules, beyond the fact that we identified what was needed from a customer circulation if it could be unimpeded by airline queues. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. Are you asking, did we identify how much additional airline queue was needed to comfortably keep them in the queues?
More or less your answer. I mean, I guess the answer is we haven't done it, but I'm not sure how helpful it would be. I'm just trying to think longer term. Again, if we're going to spend roughly $10 million now, up to what passenger count or outbound passenger count does that allow us to service more comfortably as the airport grows and as our passenger counts grow. And I know it's so dependent on, obviously, the schedules of the airlines first and foremost, and how they choose to schedule it. But again, deferring to all of you, the experts, as to whether or not that's a worthwhile exercise to ensure future-proofing ourselves as much as we can.
Trustee Farahi, what we didn't look at is there is an opportunity, however, it is extremely expensive. There is an opportunity when the airlines recover and start to have a more established schedule to look at the gains we get by relocating the airlines. As we know, we often hear that Volaris Airlines, based on where their flight is and the amount of luggage that Volaris passengers typically take, if we were able to shift them into a place where they wouldn't impact some of our larger carriers at the same time, we could gain back more space if we could figure out how to flex the queues around the peaks of each airline. We stopped exploring that just because the cost of relocating the airlines is primarily borne back of the house in terms of their airline spaces and their baggage makeup areas. So you're looking at a massive relocation of that. But that is actually something we could look at if we wanted to not build an expansion of the building. But we thought early in the study that the cost associated with the back of the house changes would be more expensive than making some adjustments to the front of the house. But that is an opportunity to more efficiently use if we relocated the airlines.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, good questions. Other comments? All right, well, like I said, we'll continue on that. I really want to thank staff again, going to those two work sessions. This is what I'm used to on very large projects, being involved with construction management, program management. There was such good interface. I'd like other board members to know that. It was very good when we were talking maintenance. Okay, if we don't put this straight through, what will happen here? The interface of different departments is so critical to where we're not having, I've seen in the years past where other places where all of a sudden there's a different group that designs it and then it's thrown to operations later. And it looks like you're really doing a good job, staff, of getting everybody together and brainstorming, all the way from IT through operations. Security was discussed in there quite a bit. All of the different areas were discussed, and that's what I'm used to in very large construction management projects and large projects in it. And you're doing that on this, and hopefully continue on this as we do look at it terminal. The types of these things are critical in projects when they start getting over a $10 million project, how they interface within everything. And you've done a great job here. So thank you. All right, let's go on to next item. Next item is number 7, which are the items for status of projects. Normally, if somebody wants to pull one out, we can have staff discuss. Does anybody want to talk about any of them? I think we've gone through pretty well. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 8 are general comments, and other items that you want to see on this, on the committee. Does any of the members have some comments or anything? Okay, seeing none. Public comments. Do we have any public comments? Okay, hearing none, adjournment. Move to adjourn. Does anybody want to move to adjourn? I think we all will. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, team.
See you guys.
Thank you.